ringleader, the cheerleader, the coach, the quarterback, the man. Those are the same qualities that at the end of the season that Gardner Minshew was doing, where he's talking to people on the sidelines, and he's this bolt of energy in the huddle, and he's making his teammates better, and he's doing all these things. I honestly think there's going to be a real battle, like you said, once OTAs start.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if Gruden keeps the complete West Coast offensive system, because then it takes a little bit away from Leonard Fournette. Remember how effective Fournette was this year. I hate saying it this way. He would be foolish to take away part of what was successful last year, because there was very little that was successful last year.
Well, I think he knows that. And I think the thing you should also understand, too, is that if Doug Marrone learned anything from last year, and I mean anything, both quarterbacks are going to play an equal amount of time in the preseason. You're not resting one all year. All of a sudden, he looks rusty.
Oh, gosh, no. No, you're not resting anybody.
Right. No, he knows it. Doug Marrone's coaching not only for his job, but urgency here. So that means, in my opinion, the way you address the preseason is Foles gets 50%, and so does Gardner Minshew. And, of course, you're going to sprinkle your other quarterbacks in there for mop-up duty just in case. But we'll just say 45-45 with the 10% going to the other quarterback in there just in case. Lewis, I know you're anxious to get a word in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, David, the three of us have talked about this quarterback situation seemingly almost every time we talk Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like it's probably the most pertinent thing, even with all the speculation surrounding Marrone's status, during and after the season. But my question to you is, we have to remember that Jay Gruden was the guy that kind of helped entrench Kirk Cousins in Washington as that starting quarterback, and they kind of took off for a little bit with him there. Do you think that happens during his tenure here, particularly in that first season, where we kind of end this debate of who's the guy moving forward, if it's either Foles or Minshew?
I think he has to, and I'll tell you why. I believe that no matter what happens after this year, they're going to part ways with Foles. It's too much money.
Oh yeah, and good point. And that's what we talked about before. That you couldn't do it after year one, but number two, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I know we've talked about it ad nauseum. It's almost like we're throwing up on ourselves.
That's all right. We'll talk about it more and get nauseated some more.
Right. But it's like there's still $29 million they owe him, mm-hmm. and it's off the table. Somebody said something interesting today that makes a lot of sense, and it was on talk radio after I had talked to you, Scott. That the Jaguars are they're in a very good position where they can surprise everybody, and then Gruden can be a savior because he's helped revitalize this offense. But if they stink, they need to really stink. And what I mean by that is that they got to have one of the top picks in the draft. Let's say that they really think they go one and whatever. The schedule is tough. We don't know how they're going to play out, what games they're going to play in sequence yet. But it is a tough schedule. If they stink, they better stink really bad, because they're going to need everything they can to go ahead and get Trevor Lawrence. And then they can get rid of everybody and start fresh. It's either one way or the other for this team. It's either you have to surprise everybody, or you really got to be bad. That's the only way that it makes sense with this, because then you get rid of the general manager, the head coach, the quarterback, the everything. You start over, and maybe it is Gruden who then says, "Okay, I want my guy.
Right.
I want my quarterback," because there was no way that any of the candidates were coming in here and saying, "I don't want Minshew."
Right.
Because that basically you're just committing suicide right there.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, David. You just said a mouthful, okay?
Sorry.
No, it's a good mouthful. Trevor Lawrence, I didn't see that one coming. Do you think he's even that good, anyways, to be able to be a number one draft choice? That's what I think. A lot of my football people say he isn't that great to be a top play. I don't care how well you won in college. The speed of the game is different in the pros.
He's the guy right now, so take it for what it's worth.
Okay, it didn't worth nothing.
I'm wondering too, because this is the segue, because we were going to talk a little bit about it too. Gruden is there at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert looked really good today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Justin head, Gruden says, I can win with him. And what if he says that to Dave Caldwell? Dave Caldwell goes, I got 1 year left of finals, and Gardner's great, but Herbert's a better quarterback.
And Gardner's a backup, not a starter, and all of a sudden urgency and panic.
He's only making $560,000 a year.
Right.
And I have 2 picks. At number 9, I'm taking a defensive lineman or a linebacker.
Right.
But if Justin Herbert's there at 20, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, me too.
What do y'all think about that?
You know what? I could actually see that. I don't know. That doesn't seem as far-fetched to me as what one would have thought on the surface. But again, you're talking about 2 guys like Caldwell and Marrone who are desperate, and Gruden's waiting in the wings to be roaming the sidelines. And could we see a Jacksonville-Las Vegas, the Battle of the Grudens? Well, we'll see how that one plays out later.
I mean, David, maybe even next year if things don't go well and he has another good year at Oklahoma, we could even see Jalen Hurts maybe factor into that conversation should he enter the draft.
I got news for you. Somebody's going to take Jalen Hurts, and they're going to groom him, and they're going to say, we're going to try. He's going to be flash for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to groom him. He's going to catch some passes. He's going to run with his speed. He may return kicks.
Right.
Jalen Hurts in 3 years will be an NFL starter. He has the Minshew factor plus the better athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you brought up, Jalen Hurts.
Cordell
Stewart.
It's still taking a year
like Ohio State
to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, Cordell Stewart was one of the more. I don't think it was Ohio State. I thought he was. I'm trying to remember what. Yeah, that's what I thought it was Colorado. But it doesn't matter. I know where you're going with it, so we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Colorado was the only school that would take him.
Well, sorry, Cordell Stewart had a pretty good. Yeah, but no, with all due respect, had a good career under Bill Cowher with the Steelers, so don't laugh.
Yeah, great.
Cordell Stewart wasn't too bad. But you know what? Yeah. Let's go back to your original point. If Herbert's out there waiting for the Jaguars to snap him up, somehow, some way, that doesn't seem all that far-fetched to me.
It's a long shot, but I saw the tape today. He was just, I liked it, and I'm not one of the guys who sits there and watches quarterback film and say, "Oh, that's, I gotta have that," that type of thing. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't watch film that often. I just, we talk.
Well, but I don't think it happens because I think he gets picked anyway, so it's a moot point. But it's certainly one to think about and let a lot of our listeners out there come up to their own conclusions. All we can do as talk show hosts is just throw it out there and let everybody else
I will
let everybody else think about it. Go ahead, David.
I will say I'll tell you this though. That's probably my first story for you.
Well, yeah, okay.
Might be working on that one for you guys. What if?
Good stuff. Look forward to it. Look forward to David Levin's contribution to the South Florida Tribune.
So let's talk about a little bit about what happens now.
Okay.
This was the last. I believe this was the last day for practice for the Super Bowl, and the coaching staff has seen enough, and I guess they're going to leave a few scouts there to watch the game. But Marrone and Caldwell and Gruden and everybody's going to come home. They're going to look at all their notes and look at all their film. Actually, it's video now because we don't call it film anymore because we're old. But then they're going to sort everything out. They're going to throw everything on the boards and on the tables and put the puzzle piece together. They have to hit on this draft.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. They got the offensive coordinator, and now they have to hit on the draft. It's doubly tough for him because he hit last year. Because Josh Allen fell into his lap.
Mm-hmm.
And Jawan Taylor dropped to the second round, and they found Minshew, and Quincy Williams had his moments, and those things matter. So now Caldwell and Marrone's help because he's not got more input. They got to hit a home run.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't, they're doomed. So I wonder how much input Gruden has now in determining which offensive pieces he wants drafted.
Well, don't lose sight of the fact that Jalen Ramsey trade netted him a pick or two, so
Right.
That's why they have to hit on it even more. You traded away your best defensive player because you didn't get along with Coughlin or let alone anybody. Now, what does the trade amount to? Do you have this guy for this guy? So that draft choice, I can tell you one of the biggest nightmares drafts I've ever dealt with in my life, and I have to own this, okay, was when the Detroit Lions made a draft day trade, Pat Swilling to the New Orleans Saints for a player that turned out to be Willie Roaf. How did that turn out? Roaf's in the Hall of Fame. Pat Swilling ended up having a few good years, and that was about it. So, but the Jaguars have to go ahead and nail it because of the Jalen Ramsey trade.
If I gave you at 9, let's say, I'm going to give you Isaiah Simmons, who can play safety and linebacker, at 9. And I'm going to say at 20, you're going to get C.J. Henderson, who's a cornerback at Florida. That takes care of your linebacker issue. That takes care of your cornerback issue. And then in free agency, you're able to pick up interior linemen and offensive linemen. You'd say that's a pretty successful offseason, wouldn't you?
Well, you'd like to think so, depending on whether or not the player's paying out.
Well,
there's perception, there's reality, Dave, right?
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about what happens with 9, just like you. I'm more worried about what happens with 20.
Right.
There's 10 or 15 guys. There's 10 or 12 guys you can throw on the board after Burrow and say, I take him and I know I have a star. After that, that's when the science.
I don't know.
They got three picks in the first 42, and I also think they may try and trade to accrue more draft capital.
Well, that's different. Okay, in my opinion, no, I do worry about 9 and 20, with the exception of what you just mentioned. That if you go ahead and peddle one of those picks and be able to pile up picks, that's another story. But you know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that if there's a team tempted, they have a guy that they want, and the Jaguars can go ahead and swindle somebody for it. Well, that's another story, but I don't know. I think they need to get 9 and 20 right. I really do. Shad Khan is probably just, there's a reason why he's laying low. He's sick and tired of losing and getting scrutinized with everything that he's done, and yet without his deep pockets, I don't think there's football in Jacksonville in the first place. And he's made that team profitable because of his London games. Another day for another time. Just mentioning it, though.
Yes. I'm excited because something really good happened. Remember you and I were talking the other night about baseball when we're not doing Jaguar football for a while because nothing's going on, and then bam, it happens. And I almost called you back and said, guess what? But this is exciting now.
Right.
Fans have been waiting. They've been complaining through social media, and we don't. Wash is still here. We got rid of a coordinator. Where's the other guy? There's been talk about London. We'll talk about that on another show. All these things, and then Jay Gruden.
Right.
He in terms of Jacksonville, he's a rock star.
I'll bet.
Right now, Jay Gruden's a rock star, and that's great. Gives me something to write about.
Well, sure. If you got to come up with 35 to 50 stories, you got one less to worry about. But not like Jay Gruden doesn't have any Florida credence either. The guy was a heck of a coach in the Arena Football League, I believe, with Tampa.
Right. And a player.
He played too, yeah.
Yeah, right. So he's
in the Arena Football Hall of Fame, I think.
Well, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, what was it? The Tampa Bay Storm, if I remember right.
Was it Tampa Bay or Orlando or something?
Well, he's made the rounds all the way around Arena Football, and it doesn't hurt that he coached with his brother, I think, as assistant with the Buccaneers. But now he finds himself, the only team he hasn't been with is the Miami Dolphins. But hey, he's still on I-95, just a little bit north, and a shorter drive to get out of the state.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Jaguars in general, though, I think the Jaguars' job is a much better job than most people think because of the fact that you don't have the owner meddling in your business. So why anybody can't get it right, I don't know. But I give Shad Khan credit that he doesn't meddle and he's patient. So any guy that were to take that job should be thankful that you don't have somebody breathing down your note and every move you make is scrutinized all the way to the mat. Of course, nowadays you'll come up with a word called Grudenized.
Nice. We had talked about that in pre-show, that this job isn't